All right. I'm sorry I had to do that, but I needed to make sure we were going the right way. So, let me start over again. I am Stampin' Dee Dee, and this is Stampin' Thursday, and it is the 4th Thursday of the month, and I'm going to try a new series called Simple to Sensational. We all want to create sensational cards, right? We all want to, but we have to start somewhere, and we all start as new card makers. So if you're a beginning card maker and you don't have many supplies, then this series is for you. And if you are an experienced card maker and you are looking for new ways to sensationalize your cards, then this series is for you too. So it's for all of us. But right now, I want to focus, especially in this first one, I want to focus on the new card maker. So new card makers have very few supplies. When we start out, we don't have much, do we? But let's maximize what we've got. So I'm gonna tell you that to start out with, it helps to have a good designer series paper that you just love. One that's versatile, one that has patterns and has images on it that you can use. The one I'm going to use today is called Les Shops, and it has images on it of shop fronts and different things that are made in these shops, but it also has a backside that has some really nice patterns. And so that's the one I'm starting with today. It's on page 131 of your new Stampin' Up, your annual Stampin' Up catalog. Stampin' Up has many different designer series papers that will work the same way that I'm going to use this one. Another thing you need then is a coordinating cardstock, and that's another reason I loved Stampin' Up, is because everything is color coordinated. On your package, let me get my package. On your package, this is the Les Shops. You can see I've cut it up a lot. This is the Les Shops paper, and on the package it tells you that in this designer series paper it uses these colors: balmy blue, basic black, Cajun craze, calypso coral, crumb cake, daffodil delight, flirty flamingo, granny apple green, misty moonlight, night of navy, pecan pie, petal pink, pumpkin pie, and shaded spruce. Lots of colors used in this pack of paper. So you pick one of those colors because they're going to be present or at least coordinate with the paper that's in here. So you need a good designer series paper, and you need a coordinating cardstock. And so the coordinating cardstock that I picked for the card we're going to do today, or the card we're going to look at, is Flirty Flamingo. And if you'll remember, Flirty Flamingo was one of the colors named in my designer series paper. So you need a good designer series paper. You need a coordinating cardstock. Remember now, we're basic. I would go with Memento Black, Tuxedo Black, Memento ink, and you need a set of sentiments, because you've got to put a sentiment on your card, right? So you need to start with a stamp set of sentiments. And the set that I'm going to start with today is called Charming Sentiments. And the thing I like about this one is that it kind of covers everything. It covers birthdays, it covers new baby, it covers events, congratulations, just a general sentiment, wishing you everything wonderful, a thank you, a beyond grateful, just a woohoo or a hey there, faith over fear, good luck, So this covers a lot. So it is a good sentiment set. There are multiple sentiment sets in the new annual catalog, and I'll be featuring a different one every fourth Thursday. But this is the one I'm using today. The sentiment out of that I'm using is wishing you the happiest of birthdays. So that's the sentiment we're going to focus on today, a birthday card. We all need birthday cards, don't we? All right, so you need a good designer series paper, you need a coordinating cardstock, you need ink, and you need a sentiment stamp set. If you have those things, you can create a simple card. You can start off creating. So let me show you a simple card that I created using that designer series paper. Now what I had to do was I had to fussy cut this image out of the paper. And if you don't have dies and you don't have a die cut machine, then you can always fussy cut. And I want to show you how easy. This is just a scrap piece of paper, and I'm going to make it easier for me to cut around this image. And it doesn't even have the whole image. I'm just demonstrating to you. But you just come along and you turn your paper, not your scissors, and cut along the edge. And it is so easy and so fast to do this. And it leaves you with an image that looks like it's been die cut. But you have not had to go to the expense yet. I say yet because I guarantee you're going to get hooked and want more tools. But in the beginning, there we go. Now, that's not the whole image because I cut the top off somehow. But now we have an image ready to use on our card. Now, I did use 2 cardstocks. This is Misty Moonlight, and it is another one of the colors in that set. But I needed something to put my image on. I could have put it right on the Flirty Flamingo, but it would have blended in, I think, too much. So I had 2 different cardstocks. And you can start with just one. You can start with just white. But I would recommend you find a coordinating color to your designer series paper. So I also cut out, and I don't see that on here, throughout this paper, there's little images of flowers or greenery in a planter. I cut one of those out too and just stuck it right there beside it. Stuck it on my Misty Moonlight, put it on my card base. This is 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. And that's how we get our card base. 8.5 by 5.5. This is half of a sheet of your cardstock, of your 8.5 by 11 cardstock. So you cut it at 5.5, and you've got half of a sheet of cardstock. You fold that in half, and you have your basic card. And so we've got our image, we've got our backing paper, we have our card base, we put our stamp on it with Memento ink, and we have a card that we can send to somebody. We've started card making. All right, so that's our first one. Now, if we want to step that up just a little bit, we can step it up. Now, to step it up, you're going to need a few more supplies. So you want to be sure, and you know, at some point in your card making, you're going to want to add supplies to your stash. But for now, to step this card up, we've added white cardstock, and I recommend everybody start with white cardstock. It's just a basic. It's a basic. So we didn't use it on this one, but to step it up, we're going to stamp our sentiment on a piece of white cardstock, and we're going to banner that, and let me show you how to do that without, let me just grab a scrap here. A scrap piece of white. So to banner our cardstock, whoops, I just bent that. We are just going to banner our sentiment, we're going to cut a snip right down the middle and then go from the corner to the middle and the corner to the middle, and we've bannered it. How about that? We have bannered it. All right, let's do the other side. Snip to the middle, corner to the middle, corner to the middle, and again. We have bannered it. So we can banner both edges, or we can just banner one and put it up against the side. You could do that. So we have added a sentiment on white. Now, I've added a mat here. I've added a piece of Designer Series paper, and this is actually the back side of one of your papers that has images on the front. So it's in the same package of Designer Series paper, and it coordinates. See how it coordinates? So I just cut that 1/4 of an inch less than the 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So it's 4 by 5 1/4. I cut this one. You can either do it up and down or sideways. It doesn't matter. I put that down first. And the other thing I've added is dimensionals. So a sheet of dimensionals maybe would be a package of dimensionals might be your next purchase. And these are the larger dimensionals. And then there are smaller dimensionals. Let me grab my smaller ones. Very used. These are my smaller dimensionals. So I put dimensionals on the back, put my sentiment on the Designer Series paper mat, and then I did the same thing that I did with this card, except I put a dimensional on the back of the little basket of flowers. So it's close to the simple one, but look at the difference we've made already with just basically with adding a package of dimensionals and the white cardstock, the basic white cardstock. Oh, I see why this is not. Okay. All right. So, all right, now we have our basic, our very simple. We have one that's stepped up a little bit. So what we're going to do is we're going to make this third, the Sensational card. We're going to make that together. And, of course, we're going to need more supplies for that. So you need to understand that as you go, you will be purchasing more and more supplies. So for this third card, the Sensational one, we will have added a die set. This is the Color and Contour die. So we will have added that, which means we have to have a die cut machine. So at some point, you're going to want the die cut machine and the dies because it just opens up a world of new possibilities. And we're going to add some ribbon, and we're going to add some embellishments. These are the flat adhesive-backed pearls. So let's see, I think that's, oh, and instead of doing our sentiment in black, we're going to do it in the Misty Moonlight. So I've added an ink pad, an ink color. So let's, nope, I'm not done yet. I've also added an embossing folder. And I will emboss this blue edge here. And you know what? I forgot to tell you on this card, notice that the edges of my cardstock, my Misty Moonlight, they're rounded. But you know what? I'm not there yet. I haven't added a corner rounder to my stock. So what I was able to use I was able to take my banner that I just made. You can take an emery board and file the edge down to a rounded corner. Now, you can use an emery board. I prefer my block just because it just seems to round it a little bit easier. But see how that's already rounding out? And that's what I did with these corners because I haven't purchased a corner rounder yet. However, on our Sensational card, now this is a retired corner rounder. All of us at this point in our card making have some kind of a corner rounder. And this is the one I'm going to use. So let me set these aside, bring in my Flirty Flamingo card base, and I'm just going to fold it in half. I've cut my 8.5 by 11 cardstock in half, and I'm going to use a bone folder to burnish that edge to give it a good burnish. All right, so we're going to start with this, and I'm going to use the same piece of cardstock or of designer series paper that I used on this card, but I'm going to use my die cut, and I'm going to put this color and contour die through my die cut machine. So let me bring that in. I have to use the big one because the color and contour die requires the bigger machine. But I'm going to go ahead and bring it in over here. You won't be able to see the whole thing, but you can see me putting it through because I'm going to do it just like that. Put the cover on top. Let me get my plates even here. Make sure I've got my edges even. All right. I'll put this on it. And here we go. Sorry, I'm hitting the camera. I'm going to put it through. Take it out. Move my machine back over here. So let's see how this turned out. Here we go. Throw this away. Looky there. I have a beautiful background piece, and I'm getting the little pieces out of the edges here. One more. All right, I'm going to put this over here, and we are going to use it again because I have added an embossing folder. Let me get all the pieces off my all right. Uh-oh. All right, so now look at that. Isn't that pretty? That adds so much to it. So I'm going to go ahead. Oh, you know what I didn't mention? Way back here, you need adhesive. And my recommendation is to start off with your Tombow green-lidded multi-liquid glue. Tombow. So you can use that on everything. And so I'm going to go ahead and use it on this. I'm spreading it out just a little bit so it's not clumped behind my paper. Okay. Put this down. Okay. I'm going to set my die aside. And the next thing I'm going to do is to use an embossing folder. And this is the Painted Texture 3D embossing folder. And I want to emboss this little piece because it's just going to add some interest. So I'm going to put it in my embossing folder, and I'm going to run it through my die cut machine again, but I have to use a special plate to do that, the embossing plate. I take the other plates off, and I'm not going to bring it over again, but I just put it through like this. So let me go ahead and do that. All right, got that done. We're just adding a little more interest here. See how it adds interest and dimension? Can you see that? Let's see. There we go. All right, so we have that ready, but now I want my corners rounded, but I have moved on and purchased a corner rounder. So I'm going to round my corners just like this. This is probably shaking the camera, but so be it. All right, so we've rounded our corners. We're ready to add our die cut piece. I've still fussy cut this, but if I had purchased the die set, then I would be able to die cut it. So I'm going to add this to my embossed piece. And I'm going to move it to the right just a little bit. Make sure it's even at the bottom. And I'm going to once again use dimensionals on the back of my little flower because I want it popped up. And we're just kind of doing this as we go. So let's see. I'm going to put that right down here next to the door. All right. So I know that I'm going to need to put my sentiment somewhere. So I think I'm going to scoot this down. And let me see about putting it down here. I still think I want it up here. So before we glue things down, I'm going to go ahead now and stamp my sentiment. And I am stamping it this time in Misty Moonlight. So it's going to coordinate just a little bit better. Got it backwards. I'm going to stamp it off once to make sure that I have it inked up well. I think I need to put a mat under my sentiment piece to help it really stamp well. Now, if it doesn't, we can turn it over. All right, I'm going to do it in the middle so that I have room on each side to banner it. And I think I'm going to do it toward the bottom and maybe trim just a little bit of the top off to make it looky there. Isn't that nice? That turned out well. I'll put my paper away. I am going to get my trimmer, and I want to just trim a little bit more off. There we go. So that it's not quite as wide. Covers up less of the front of my card. All right, so we're going to shorten this a little bit. And then I'm going to banner it just like I did before. There is a, I don't know if it's retired or not. There was a punch that banners. I didn't buy it because this is so easy. But it is a nice punch and has some different styles. All right. Let's see. Let me do it on here. So if I put this up here, maybe let my scallop show just a tiny bit. Cover up the scallop at the bottom, maybe. Because I've got ribbon. Let me tie a bow. See where I want to put this ribbon. Not sure yet. I just want a small bow. I'm not sure yet. Maybe right there, between the two. I don't know. If I want my scallop to show a little bit, maybe right down here. I think right. Well, what do you think? Can't decide. I know I don't have room for it up here. And I don't want to cover up my sentiment. It's either here or here. I'm thinking right there. I'm thinking that looks really good. All right. So let's get our sentiment down. And I'm going to do that with dimensionals because I want it to pop up. So I'm going to put three dimensionals. Okay. Now I want the scallop at the top to just barely show. I think I can move it up a little bit more. All right. We'll secure that down. And now we're going to put this right down here. And I'm not going to pop this up because I'm going to have the bow and I want to put some gems on it. So I'm just going to add my glue to this. I like to spread it around a little bit. And I'm going to put it right down here, letting the scallop show on each side of it. And then I need to decide where I want to put my gems. And I'll use the smaller ones. You know, sometimes you put it in the middle of something, but I don't really have a place. I think I'm going to use one. No, I'm not going to put it on the popped up sentiment. I don't want to make it too bulky. I want to be able to mail this in the mail. So I'm going to put it, I think, on the blue. So I'll put one here, maybe one here and one here. I think that's what we'll do. Oops. So I'll put one right there. One. I think I'm going to put one there, one here, and one right down here. Right there. You know what? This one I'm going to move. I think I can still move it and put it more there. There we go. All right, and then we have our ribbon. We are turning this into a sensational card. Now, I'm not saying that anything I do is sensational because it certainly is not. But it is a card that is stepped up, and I need to cut my tail off. Maybe even a little more. I want them to be even. There we go. It is stepped up from the original card, and we have turned it into a card that anybody would be absolutely thrilled to get. Now, the inside, when you've got colored cardstock, you do want to have some white. And I keep a container of 4 by 5 1/4 white. And I just keep it cut so that anytime I want, I can add the white to the inside of my card. And I don't have it cut, but I might want to, let's see, I cut this, didn't I? If I put that one up there, I could do that. Or I could even cut it off. How about this? Cut it off at the awning. Put it right down here. Wouldn't that look awesome? I could also just put the bush, cut another bush out, another planter. But I think I'm going to use that. I'm going to use every little piece. It doesn't have to be the whole thing. There we go. And we want it flat on the inside. Let me move it off the card base so I don't mess it up. You want it flat because you want the inside of your card to be flat, or I do. There we go. And now here's the place to write whatever sentiment I want to write. Let's get this inside our card base. All right, there we go. Looky there. Isn't that nice? So we have now a sensational card, a card where we began to step it up, and our simple card, any of which would be a blessing to somebody who needs to hear from us. For this one, it was happy birthday. Sometimes I find myself sending a lot of sympathy cards, I guess, because the older I get, the more my friends' parents are passing, or people I know. But for this, wishing you the happiest of birthdays. So I hope I've helped you, if you're a new card maker, to get started, to be bold, and start out maybe with a designer series paper and some coordinating cardstock. And then when you're ready to step it up, buy you some dimensionals and use another sheet, another piece of your designer series paper. And then when we're ready to take on a sensational card, we can add ribbon and embellishments and die cuts and embossing folders. So many ways to do that. And we're going to be looking at other ways to create a simple card, a stepped up card, and a sensational card. So I hope you'll join me every fourth Thursday. Now, I do a Facebook Live every Thursday. The first Thursday of the month, I introduce the monthly stamp club. And I demonstrate one of the cards in that monthly stamp club. So even if you don't want the monthly stamp club, look at the die set that the stamp and die set that I'm featuring, and see some samples made from that set. And, you know, if you decide you want to participate in the monthly stamp club, it's a to-go. So it will be delivered right to your door, and you'll hear all about that on the first Thursday of the month. Then the second Thursday of the month is just a Thursday when I demonstrate a particular fun fold or a new technique I've learned. I'm just leaving it open. The third Stampin' Thursday is Mystery Card. And that is a fun time that you can participate and make a card along with me, and using the supplies that the list I've given you. And our cards will it'll be so fun to do that together. And then the fourth Thursday of the month is going to be Simple to Sensational. And every month we will look at another Simple to Sensational set of cards. Sometimes there's a fifth Thursday, which there is in August, and it'll just be another random freebie thing. All right, thank you for joining me today for Stampin' Thursday. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please comment. Now, if you're watching it on YouTube, join my YouTube. Subscribe to my YouTube page and hit that bell so that you'll be notified every time I post a YouTube video, which I do. After every video I make, I post it on YouTube. And give me a comment. Let me know where you're from, what you think, where you are. Are you a beginning card maker, or do you sensationalize your cards? Let me know what you do. And give me a thumbs up or a smiley face. Those things help on YouTube so much. Thank you. Thank you, whether you're watching the replay on Facebook or you're watching on YouTube. Thank you so much for joining me. Hi, Kay. I see that you're on. Thank you for being here and for watching as we went from a simple card to a stepped-up card to a sensational card. So I hope you're having a good week, and I will see you next Thursday for the Stamp Club of the Month introduction. God bless you. Bye-bye.